He is a truly incredible guy, and I don't say that often.
In the beginning, Donald Trump and Elon Musk got along great.
Take over, Elon, just take over.
Musk spent $288 million to elect Trump and his allies.
And they've also got to address the deficit. So
Trump invited Musk into the Oval Office and cabinet meetings.
Does nobody ever bring up that he also kind of bought Twitter and that helped a lot? Did nobody ever bring that up? Or
Musk called himself First Buddy.
You got to give him credit.
Trump welcomed Musk's idea to create a Department of Government Efficiency.
This is the chainsaw for bureaucracy.
In 4 months, DOGE took the chainsaw to every federal department. 250,000 workers were fired or bought out. Musk even slashed grants and staffing at environmental agencies like the EPA and NOAA after decades of warning about the risks of climate change. But Musk did not enjoy the pushback.
We received several 911 calls about a fire.
There were acts of violence, death threats, lawsuits, mandatory rehirings, shouting matches with cabinet members.
wait, sorry, hold on.
But Musk did not enjoy the pushback.
We received several 911 calls about a fire.
There were acts of violence, death threats,
Wait,
lawsuits.
I'm so sorry.
About a fire.
Okay, pretend
There
this is
were
the first
acts
version.
of violence, death threats, lawsuits, mandatory rehirings, shouting matches with cabinet members.
Okay.
Tesla profits plummeted by 71%,
Number one, it's a great product.
and Musk's net worth dropped by $100 billion.
No, that's beautiful.
Last month, Musk finally left Washington, but still intended to work on DOGE a day or two a week. And this past Tuesday, he offered us an interview at SpaceX's enormous headquarters at the southern tip of Texas. We knew we were in the right neighborhood when we saw this huge bust of Musk installed by his admirers and vandalized by his critics. But the interview didn't get off to a smooth start.
I noticed that all of your businesses involve a lot of components, a lot of parts. Do the tariffs and the trade wars affect any of this?
Tariffs always affect things a little bit.
Wondering what your thought is on the ban on foreign students, the proposal. I mean, you were one of those kids, right?
Yeah, I think we want to stick to, the subject of the day, which is like spaceships, as opposed to, presidential policy.
Oh, okay. I was told anything's good, but
No.
But Musk was willing to talk about the DOGE firestorm.
you've spoken about how much of a grind and a stress it was on you. And, Tesla's reputation took a hit, your reputation took a hit. People are very upset about Social Security and national parks and air traffic and food safety and cancer research, Alzheimer's research. Now you've had a chance to look at it.
Yeah.
Might there have been a different approach?
Yeah, I think what was starting to happen was that, it's a bit unfair because, Doge became the whipping boy for everything. So if there was some cut, real or imagined, everyone would blame Doge. I've had people think that, somehow Doge is going to stop them from getting their Social Security check, which is completely untrue.
Well, I guess I was just thinking about the, move fast and break things, before you really understand what the agency does.
Yeah, I guess part of it is depends on where you're coming from. So, I'm like a proponent of smaller government, not bigger government. So now if somebody's a proponent of, more government programs and bigger government, and they see, hey, Doge is cutting all these government programs, then they'll be fundamentally opposed to that because they just think the government should do more things. That's just a fundamental, I guess, ideological opinion. But my frank opinion of the government is that the government is just like the DMV that got big. Okay, so when you say let's have the government do something, you should think, do you want the DMV to do it?
And then Musk started talking about the Trump administration. I hadn't even asked him about Trump.
And it's not like I agree with everything the administration does. So it's I agree with much of what the administration does, but we have differences of opinion. There's things that I don't entirely agree with. But it's difficult for me to bring that up in an interview because then it creates a bone of contention. So then I'm a little stuck in a bind where I'm like, well, I don't want to speak out against the administration, but I don't want to. I also don't want to take responsibility for everything the administration is doing.
In Washington, federal workers say that DOGE has left the government's operations in disarray. And worst of all, it might have all been for nothing. Musk claims to have saved the government $175 billion so far, nowhere close to his original target, or even his revised target. And that was before the president's new spending bill passed the House. According to the Congressional Budget Office, it will add $3.8 trillion to our debt over the next 10 years. It's now being debated in the Senate.
So, I was disappointed to see the massive spending bill, frankly, which increases the budget deficit, not just decrease it, and undermines the work that the DOGE team is doing.
I actually thought that when this big, beautiful bill came along. Everything he's done on DOGE gets wiped out in the first year.
I think a bill can be big or it can be beautiful, but I don't know if it can be both. My personal opinion.
And here's where the story gets a little complicated. Right after our interview, CBS News posted a clip of it to promote this very report. It was that part where Musk criticizes Trump's spending bill, and his remarks became news. It went all the way up to the White House.
Mr. President, Elon Musk in a television interview criticized the one big, beautiful bill.
Within 24 hours, Musk announced that his time in the Trump administration was officially over. Out of DOGE, out of government. He said that the reason was that his limited 130-day stint as advisor was ending. But until that moment, he'd been saying that he still intended to work on Doge part-time.
Doge is going to continue just it's as a way of life. And I'll have some participation in that, but as I've said publicly, my focus has to be on the companies at this point.
Truth is, the Trump-Musk relationship had already seemed to be cooling.
True.
Trump used to post about Musk about 6 times a week, but by April, he'd stopped mentioning Musk altogether.
Today it's about a man named Elon.
Still, on Friday, they held a media event at the White House to confirm their mutual admiration and to leave the door open for future collaboration.
And Elon's really not leaving. He's going to be back and forth, I think. I have a feeling.
The Doge team's doing an incredible job. They're going to continue doing an incredible job, and I'll continue to be visiting here and be a friend and advisor to the president.
Musk might be the first to admit that his Doge experiment gave him a black eye, like the actual black eye he had on Friday, which he says he got from his 5-year-old son, or the matching one on that stat. The actual black eye he had on Friday, which he says he
What?
got from his 5-year-old son, or the matching one on that statue. At least for now, Musk says that his focus will be running his business ventures: Tesla, Starlink, X, XAI, Neuralink, Optimus Robots, The Boring Company, and SpaceX.
Are all of your businesses related in some way?
Well, I guess you can think of the businesses as things that improve the probable trajectory of civilization. So, for making life multiplanetary or extending life to Mars, the idea there is to ensure the long-term survival of life and consciousness as we know it.
We're going to use this launch to kind of further accelerate.
After our
Like, why can't he ever say anything cool? He's such a loser. I'm just saying, right? Like, I don't know how people can't see that he's such a fucking loser. Like, listen to this guy.
Trajectory as
Related?
Robots, The Boring Company, and SpaceX.
Are all of your businesses related in some way?
Well, I guess you can think of the businesses as things that improve the probable trajectory of civilization.
Things that improve the trajectory of civilization.
So, for making life multiplanetary or extending life to Mars, the idea there is to ensure the long-term survival of life and consciousness as we know it.
Like what? Like there's a cool story that he could theoretically tell, right? Like you take an Elon Musk starship to Mars. You don't have to worry about setting up the infrastructure for internet because Starlink is literally in Martian orbit, and you don't have to worry about shipping fossil fuels or anything else because solar bullshit or whatever is powering your fucking electric car, right? These are the tools of the future that are going to get us to other planets, help us. Right? You can at least like tell a cool story, but he always just speaks in like the most lame, fucking brain dead. It furthers human consciousness.
The idea there is to ensure.
Yeah, somebody in chat. Destiny, tunnels, electric vehicles, and AI would be essential on Mars. Why doesn't he talk about this stuff? Yeah, you could plug so many of your products here. Like, what are you doing?
The long-term survival of life and consciousness as we know it.
We're going to use this launch to kind of further accelerate.
After our interview
Yeah, it talks like bad sci-fi.
Tuesday, we were invited to witness the 9th launch of his Starship, the biggest rocket ever built.
Has this thing gotten, or have they caught the booster yet, or are they still testing it, I guess? What are they even trying to deliver into space with Starship? Or what do they need something this big for? Do they have theoretical payloads that they're looking to put on this yet, or?
The 2 previous Starship tests ended in explosions, or as SpaceX puts it, rapid, unscheduled disassemblies. So all eyes were on Test Launch 9 to see if a Starship could return to Earth in one piece.
As Musk left our interview to watch the launch, he said something that could summarize all of his enterprises. I can't guarantee success, but I can guarantee excitement.
Oh, he did the thing from the one documentary a long time ago.
In the end, Elon Musk's giant rocket spun out of control. It did not survive re-entry.
I wanted to ask quickly, Mr. Musk, is your eye okay? What happened to your eye? I noticed there's a bruise there.
Well, it wasn't. I wasn't anywhere near France, so. But.
What does that mean?
No,
I didn't notice it.
First lady of France getting slapped.
I didn't notice.
Yeah, no, I was just horsing around with little X, and I said, "Go ahead, punch me in the face," and he did. Turns out, even a 5-year-old punching you in the face actually does.
That was X.
What? Do it, bitch.
X could do it. If you knew X, you
I
could
saw his
do
mom
it.
right now. But I didn't really feel much at the time, and then I guess it bruises up. But I just watched him around with the kids.
I didn't
basically.
notice it, actually.
President Trump, I got one. I know that you try to stay pretty.
Read his shirt. Yeah, I see it. The Doge father. Ugh. Most of the time, the launches from SpaceX are just to do basic trial and error, seeing what ships work and what doesn't. Well, no, the Starship one is a huge one they've designed that's supposed to be able to take more into space than any other ship. I'm just curious if there's like, are there theoretical payloads where it's like, if we had a ship that could deliver this much, that it would be like super helpful? I'm sure they have some end goal in mind for it. I'm just curious. Only Starlink satellites, nothing else. Bro, I got so blackpilled on that Starlink shit when you guys told me that these only last like 3 to 5 years and you have to keep redeploying them. What the fuck? Clip of Elon from right before that interview.
We're about to see Flight 9 here. So give me a rundown. Like right now, we're T-minus 4.5 hours. What's going through your head right now?
I have a lot going through my head, actually.
So we're about to see...
Where's the rest of this interview? Yep, it's the start of this interview from 4 days ago.
About to see Flight 9 here. So give me a rundown. Like right now, we're T-minus 4.5 hours. What's going through your head right now?
I have a lot going through my head, actually.
Starship has been an abject failure. Not a single successful launch to the milestones they set. They might be behind milestones, but I mean, as long as they're improving and shit, right?
Just thinking about the various ways in the rocket can fail, which are many.
Yeah.
But what we're hoping to achieve today is we want to obviously get the like by far the most important thing is the high heating phase of re-entry, and see how the tiles perform during the hypersonic max heating.
Yep.
And also on the basically this is think of this as a tiles mission.
Yeah.
It's all about the tiles.
Yep.
So do the tiles stay on, or do they shake off? It's pretty hard.
Who are we blaming for tech CEOs trying to look cool? Do we blame Steve Jobs for this? What happened where all these tech CEOs thought they had to be front and center? Like, get a speaker, dude. Or learn to communicate better. Like, if you can't communicate well, that's fine. You're the CEO of so many successful companies. You don't have to be able to do everything. Just pay somebody who's a good spokesman, even if they're just like with you on these interviews.
Keeping tiles on a rocket when it is shaking, like more shaking than you could possibly imagine shaking would be.
Yep.
Like the vibration and acoustics
Yep.
are like beyond human comprehension.
Yeah.
And the ceramic tiles are like basically are brittle, like they're like a coffee cup or a dinner plate. So like got this whole like shaking metal rocket that's got cryogenic propellant, so it's like shrinking due to the cryogenics. Then it's being pressurized, so it's puffing up like a balloon.
Yep.
Then it's got body bending.
Yep.
So and it's shaking. So it's like, how do you keep these dinner plates from falling off,
Yeah.
or cracking or whatever?
Dynamic.
Yeah. So, no, we do keep the vast majority of them on, but some of them fall off, and then we're going to find out like why.
Fucking true. Holy shit, I just realized Elon needs an actual Steve Jobs type guy to front his companies. He's like, if there was no Steve Jobs and the Wozniak guy was the face of Apple LeMayo.
They fall off. Like, what do we need to do to fix that? Why do they crack? And then for high heating reentry, you've got some parts of the rocket that see much higher heat than other parts. So, like the the areas around the flaps, where you've got sort of concentrations of hot plasma.
Yeah.
That needs extra care. Like the hinge area where the flaps are hinging. How do you protect that hinge gap? Because the plasma wants to group up there and then create like a rapids, so you get like a like a Venturi effect, or it's really just like a high pressure buildup ahead of the flap hinge. That if you're not careful, will then create a heat concentrator and cook your hinge.
Yeah. So
here's the first video Everyday Astronaut did interviewing Elon. You can tell how much more lucid and intelligent he used to be. Have we watched this one before?
hi, it's me, Tim Dodd, the Everyday Astronaut. Last night, Elon Musk updated the world on SpaceX's Starship development. Let me tell you, the event was amazing.
God damn, the blacks look good on this monitor. Just letting you guys know, okay?
We learned a lot of really cool details, but I'm still a little baffled by the pace of this program. It's unheard of. If only there was someone that could answer a few more of my questions about this program and about Starship.
I don't even think it's on HDR though. I think it's just a better monitor than my last one.
Elon, how's it going? Thank you. Full flow. Station motion, not a bad idea. Mind miking yourself up there? After Elon complimented my shirt, we mic'd him up and let the cameras roll. Now, for those of you new to my channel, we're gonna get into some fairly in-depth rocket science, and if it's over your head, don't worry.
Oh, fairly in-depth rocket science.
Stick around my channel, and I promise I'll make sense of all the stuff we talk about, like full floor stage combustion cycle and aerospike engines. There were parts.
I honestly just think he's more nervous here, LeMayo. But how has he gotten more nervous and more anxious over time?
This interview that I wasn't really planning to release at first.
I guess actually over time maybe stress can build up and fuck with you actually. Actually that's probably more normal, isn't it? Maybe?
But I actually think the best thing I could do is just show you the entire thing uncut from a single camera so you can feel like you're right there with us.
Okay.
Yeah, first off, thank you so much for talking to me. I mean, we're underneath your beautiful beast.
Yeah, it's crazy. Can you believe this is even here?
I was here a month ago, literally standing right here. Well, not just over the fence.
Right.
And you had a tube and a pointy tube. And now you've got this. I mean, how do you do that? Is it just sheer will? Is it everyone that driven about the goal?
I think I've learned a lot of lessons about how to make things go fast, and then I've propagated those lessons to the SpaceX team, and there's just like an incredibly talented, hardworking team at SpaceX. Yeah. In fact, at times I think maybe there's too many talented people at SpaceX. We have too many talented people that were cornering the market. But there's a very talented group that works super hard, and just taking the general approach of if a design is taking too long, the design is wrong, and therefore the design must be modified to accelerate progress.
Right.
One of the most fundamental.
People are saying that he's saying retarded shit here. If you're starting an interview and you don't know the level of expertise or whatever the other person, I think that his opening explanation here is actually, it's fine, right? Like if a stranger on the street asks me, hey, what do you do for work? I always say like, oh, I do like politics videos online. And if one of you guys walked up and it's like, politics videos, is Destiny a retard? You mean you're a live streamer on, multiple platforms like YouTube and like, it's like, this person has no idea about that. I think he gave a fine overview explanation, whatever.
Errors made in to accelerate progress.
Right.
One of the most fundamental errors made in advanced development is to stick to a design even when it is very complicated, and to not strive to delete parts and processes.
Right.
It's incredibly important. So this is why the switch to steel was because the advanced carbon fiber was taking too long.
Right. And you're definitely not a sunk cost fallacists. You're
definitely not.
This is clearly the new path forward, let's hop on it.
Yeah, is it in the future or not? If it's not in the future, who cares?
Yeah, and you did that, I mean, look at last year, Dear Moon. You guys were kind of in that awkward stage of probably figuring this out right here.
Business cut style engineer speak. Fuck. Do you guys learn anything from my goddamn fucking streams? I don't agree. I feel like he said some substantive things actually that make sense. It sounds like he said that there are a couple of there's a design philosophy that he uses that he's saying the rest of the space industry doesn't use, which is if something is taking too long, then ditch it and do something different. Be more forward-looking and don't get hung up on prior designs. And this type of process is what, I think he's spoken about this before in older videos. It's at least something. It's something more than what he normally is. It's at least something. Is it good? I mean, I guess he sent rockets to space, but there's something here at least.
And you're definitely not a sunk cost fallacists. You're
definitely not.
This is clearly the new path forward, let's hop on it.
Yeah, is it in the future or not? If it's not in the future, who cares?
Yeah, and you did that, I mean, look at last year, Dear Moon. You guys were kind of in that awkward stage of probably figuring this out right here. You had the carbon fiber
I think we didn't even have the steel. I think we were still on the path. When was the Dear Moon thing?
Almost exactly a year ago.
That was before the change to steel.
Yeah, you guys, I mean, you showed the carbon mandrel and everything, and you're excited about that, but then all of a sudden
I
we see you
canceled
switch.
the carbon fiber design in October last year.
Yeah, so just after that.
Yeah.
And what people don't understand is that
he also I don't know if he still does this. I'm sure he does still do this, and I just don't see him do it. But he did at the very beginning of this immediately give credit to his team and even joked that like we might have too many like really good workers and really smart engineers at Tesla. We might be quartering them. Like he made a joke about it, right? Which is it's good, right?
You're the lead engineer. You're
Yes,
literally
literally. This is I was actually at dinner with a friend, and he was like, "Well, who's the chief engineer of SpaceX?" I'm like, "It's me."
No, you're being too charitable. Elon Musk still sounds like a retard here. No, Elon Musk sounds like he sounds autistic here, but here he sounds retarded. There's a difference, right? Like he sounds a little bit aspy. Here he sounds like he's got Down syndrome. I think there's a meaningful difference in the way that he's speaking, but I don't know, maybe.
No, it's like it's not you. Who is it? Like, look, it's either someone with a very low ego, or I don't know, you know. But but you know, that said, you know, what I actually tell a team is like everyone is a chief engineer. This is extremely important, and that everyone must understand how broadly speaking, all the systems in the vehicle work.
Right.
And so that so you don't have subsystem.
Where's the stutter he has now? He speaks pretty well here. Yeah, also, he's speaking pretty quickly. I'm on normal speed right now. None of this is in times 2, and he's speaking quite fast, I think.
Flight.
Compared to at least what I feel like I hear him say in other... Oh, fuck, I accidentally, it's on this, but...
Systems in the vehicle work.
Right.
And
he is still kind of stuttering a bit, but he's speaking, I think, quicker here. But he's locked in.
So you don't have subsystem optimization, because this is naturally what happens. You can see the organizational errors the product errors reflect the organizational errors. So essentially you'll see that there's an interface at this, like if you've got whatever departments you've got, that will be where your interfaces are.
Right.
And then instead of like getting rid of something or questioning the constraints,
he's on coke here? So what? He's on cocaine. That should make him sharper. It's fine.
One department will design to the constraints of the other department has given them without calling into question those constraints and saying those constraints are wrong. And you should actually take the approach that the constraints that you are given are guaranteed to be some degree wrong. Guaranteed to be some degree wrong. Because the counterpoint would be that they're perfect.
Right, which is never.
As you say, like, what's the probability that this is a platonic ideal of the perfect part? Right. Zero. Okay, basically. Yeah. So you question your constraints. It does not matter if the person handing you those constraints won a Nobel Prize. Even Einstein was wrong some of the time.
Right.
So question your constraints. This is extremely important.
Like he said, like I think this is more. I think I've never heard him speak actually this much about organizational philosophy. Right? He's at least giving us things to think about. We're getting some kind of substance rather than just like spaceships or whatever. Right? It sounds like he wants a broad base of knowledge from all of his engineers because he wants people across multiple departments to be able to critique incoming designs, right? One person in one department doesn't work on every single product, obviously. But if you don't have any understanding of the products in horizontal departments or vertical departments, I guess it'd be vertical departments, right? If you have no understanding of how they do design, then any product you get, you're not even gonna be able to overview it. You're just gonna have to assume everything they say is true, right? So he's saying question everything that comes in, but in order to do that, you need a general level of understanding. And then he's saying, he's saying any type of design flaw is actually an organizational flaw, which is an interesting way to conceptualize product flaws, I guess, right? If there's an error in the product somewhere, it means that there was an error in the organization somewhere, and that comes out in the final design. Whether you agree or disagree, it's something at least, right? You can also, I was going to say this. When I'm listening to him speak here, and I don't get this impression in his other videos, but maybe it's just because I'm a big fucking hater. Just kidding. It's because he's a retard now. I even do this sometimes where when I'm speaking, there's kind of so much I want to get out. And even though I speak very quickly, I can start to just kind of cut off the end of my sentences because I just want to get on to the next point. It seems like here, it feels like his eyes are moving and it feels like he's jumping around in a lot of topics in his head and he's trying to figure out what he wants to say rather than he's like completely airheaded and he's just trying to figure out something to say. It feels like he has stuff that he wants to say, he's just bad at communicating it. There's something in there at least.
And like I think another thing that like you say, like what are the mistakes that smart engineers make? One of the biggest traps for smart engineers is optimizing a thing that shouldn't exist.
Yeah. So they'll just sit there and spin on that thing that's just like, why do we even have this in the first place?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So because
it's like an interesting drill question here, and I don't know if anybody smart has interviewed Elon Musk, but like interviewers that don't ask follow-ups fucking drive me crazy. Like the interesting question here, I think, from an organizational standpoint would be, okay, so you have a design philosophy where you're willing to ditch stuff quicker than other people, and you don't have the sunk cost fallacy that a lot of designers have, and it's clearly served you to some extent. You're shooting off rocket ships, and you've cornered the EV market in the United States. how do you decide when to move on from something? Are you ever worried that you move on from something too quickly? I'd be curious, back when he was more sober and lucid, what would his answer be to that? How do you figure out when to move on to something quicker? And why do you think other people, miss that? I don't know how he would answer that.
When you go through college, like studying physics and engineering, I studied physics, you have to answer the question that the professor gives you. You don't get to say, this is the wrong question.
Right. Yeah.
But in reality, we have far more degrees. When you're in reality, you have all the degrees of freedom of reality. And so the first thing you should say is, this question is wrong.
Yeah. And that's what you said last year.
Yeah.
I mean, you kind of said, like, it took us a long time to frame the question, even. Because
Yes.
we didn't necessarily know
It took
what it was.
ages to frame the question.
Yeah.
And it's just like the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Douglas Adams, best philosopher ever.
That's a meme level thing to say, though. Correct. Some of what he's saying here is meme shit, right? So you're telling me that the question is wrong, right? Oh, so you think everybody's just been asked the wrong question? Well, what do you have to show for it? And then his answer would be, well, I revolutionized electric vehicles in the United States 20 years before anybody else did, and I have single-handedly, basically, on an entrepreneur level, salvaged America's aeronautics industry. Well, then you have to go, okay, all right, well, maybe there's something to what he's saying, right? I would agree that some of the advice can come off as memey, but if he's actually put it into practice and done it, and it seems like to some extent he has, you have to give him credit for SpaceX and for Tesla. You have to, right?
Maybe, I think, best book in philosophy ever, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. This book is so deep, people don't understand. But like
space industry, maybe aeronautics wasn't the right word there. Space industry, maybe.
In the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the Earth is a giant computer,
right?
And the Earth it comes up with the answer 42.
Right. Yep.
And to the question, like, so what's the answer to life, the universe, and everything? Answer is 42, and like they're like, what the hell? That doesn't make any sense.
Right.
It's like, the hard part is the question. The answer is the easy part. You need a much more powerful computer to tell you what the question is.
Right.
And this is true. At the point at which you can properly frame the question, the answer is comparatively easy.
Right.
Yeah.
I have one more question for you. I'm working on a video about aerospikes. It's going to be about an hour-long video on aerospikes.
Like follow-ups to this would have been really interesting, because it's true. This is sometimes when people ask me questions like, oh, I don't know if I should stay here and move, or I don't know if I should stay and work, or if I should move for a different job, or if I should do this, blah, blah. In my personal opinion, there are no difficult questions in life about what you should do. If you're running into a difficult question and you don't know what the answer is, it's not because the question is difficult. It's usually because there's some fundamental, like, first principle that you don't have resolved. So when there's like a really complicated question of like, should I pursue this or should I stay here and do this? The reason why that question is difficult is because you haven't actually figured out, am I prioritizing for my career right now, or am I prioritizing for a family or whatever? And if those like underlying fundamental things aren't figured out, then every question in life becomes incredibly difficult to answer. But it's because you're trying to solve theorems with no axioms. You're trying to figure out the answer to questions that you really don't even have the capacity to properly process, I think.
And they're like the rotary engine of rockets. Like the rotary it's advantageous in some ways.
Yeah.
Like a wankle.
Man,
They're cool, but
I know.
What's your biggest beef on them? Because I'm trying to get as much insight on like, why do you think they aren't used? And obviously, I assume you're not ever going to an aerospike for a lot of reasons.
I've internally asked this question so many times, like, guys, shouldn't we maybe do an aerospike? The challenge. So you can explain to the audience what an aerospike is?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
you're going to
great.
be like the end of this thing.
Okay,
I've already set it all up.
Otherwise,
Yeah.
What is an aerospike?
What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah.
You got to get your combustion efficiency. Like there's really two parts to like when you have a rocket engine, what are you trying to do? You're trying to shoot things out as fast as possible in a straight line.
Yes. Yep. Converting as much thermal and pressure into kinetic energy.
Yes, exactly. So you have your combustion efficiency. So what percentage of max theoretical combustion efficiency are you? Mm-hmm. And then what's your nozzle efficiency, which is really are you straightening the flow and shooting the molecules out in a straight line so that you go in the other direction?
Yes.
Newton's third law.
Yep.
With a traditional combustion chamber, you can get to a very high combustion efficiency because the molecules are all sort of bouncing around in there. They've got time to combine and do their thing. then when you sort of choke it through the throat, that gives them sort of more opportunity to combine.
Yep.
So you can, like we think you can probably get to 90, certainly 98.5, hopefully 99% of theoretical combustion efficiency. This is so if God himself came and knitted together the molecules to do 1% better.
Doesn't he sound like he's back to relying on uni shit and stuff he heard from his engineers? Not to me here. I don't know. I don't get that vibe. It sounds like he has an understanding of the stuff and he's just having a really bad or hard time communicating it. But he doesn't sound like he doesn't understand any of the concepts. Like, it sounds like he was ready to explain an aerospike, and it sounds like he is, like, he's freeballing the explanations enough that he seems like he understands it. I don't get the impression that he's trying to remember what his engineers told him. But
98.5, hopefully 99% of theoretical combustion efficiency. This is so if God himself came and knitted together the molecules to do 1% better. Okay, maybe 1.5% better. That's very high efficiency.
Because of full flow stage combustion.
Full flow stage combustion, exactly.
Yeah.
You've got a gas-gas interaction. So you've got two hot gases combining.
Yeah.
And with a relatively simple reaction, the only thing that would be simpler would be hydrogen. But you got CH4 and O2. It's pretty simple. You don't have any long chain hydrocarbons. With kerosene, you got the long chains. They got to break down. They got to recombine. Yep. It's like total soup. Yeah. It's like potluck dinner situation. It's very hard to get high combustion efficiency with kerosene. So when you look at the say, like, what's the theoretical value of, say, a LOX kerosene engine as compared to a methane engine, the kerosene actually looks more compelling than it really is, because you can't achieve the high combustion efficiency with kerosene that you can with methane. So you actually want to say, what is the actual achievable combustion efficiency times the theoretical chemical energy? That's the real number.
Right.
And this is where methane starts to look really good.
Yeah.
It's like very hard to get to like 96% combustion efficiency or even 95% combustion efficiency with kerosene. But with methane, you can get 98 easy, 99 with a little bit of difficulty.
And so you don't think, you're just telling me now, spoiler alert, you're probably never going to see a full flow stage combustion cycle aerospike engine produced by SpaceX.
If somebody...
Like this explanation that I just heard here with him talking through rocket shit, this one video, or like the past like 3 minutes, is more science than I've heard him explain in the totality of probably every single conversation combined that I've ever heard him speak about anything before.
You can show that we're wrong, that would be great.
Yeah.
If somebody can explain, like, wow, there is a way to make your design better, this is a gift.
Right.
I would be like, thank you for this great gift. Wow, this is awesome. It's definitely, like, the worst thing would be, like, we want to do some dumb design and stick with our dumb design.
Right.
That would be insane.
Right.
So I would love it if somebody could show how an aerospike is the smart move. In which case, we'll just do an aerospike.
Yeah, just do an aerospike.
Yeah,
There's
totally.
a reason they haven't been used. Period.
But maybe that reason is not valid. Because like there's also hasn't been a methane orbital engine,
right? Or a full flow stage combustion. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's been neither a full flow stage combustion engine that's seen flight, nor has the...
Can you explain an aerospike? I have no idea what an aerospike is. Aerospike. Oh, database architecture. Oh, maybe it helps the rocket store all of its performance. I have no idea. Aerospike engine is a type of rocket engine that enhances aerodynamic efficiency across a wide range of altitudes. Huh. Okay. There are some principles of like combustion that don't really matter that much for like all of us. So for instance, your car will run a bit more efficiently the closer to sea level you are than above sea level, I guess. You're not under sea. Because the air molecules are more densely packed at sea level than they would be if you were on top of Mount Everest. And so you get more air coming into the car. If the temperature of the air is lower even, you can pack more in. That's why some people have like a scoop underneath their car to bring in cold air. It's why some people will redo their air intake to be in a straight line, so it's coming in faster, you pack more air, right? These types of principles of combustion, of being able to cram in more air based on how tightly the molecules are. I mean, for most people, we just don't think about this. We don't give a fuck about any of this. It sounds like an aerospike engine is something that, but for a rocket, I imagine, as you get further and further into the atmosphere, I guess like the properties of all of your materials, your liquids and your airs and your exhaust, everything start to vary widely. So an engine that might be really efficient at sea level might be less efficient as you climb into the atmosphere. And I guess an aerospike engine is a type of engine that... No, actually, forget everything I just said. Never mind. I'm fucking retarded. Just forget everything I said. Never mind. Because this is maintaining aerodynamic efficiency, and I'm probably talking about chemical or some combustion ratio efficiency. So I've just forget everything I just said. Rewind. Push the rewind button. Where's the redact button? Never mind. Maybe for aerodynamic efficiency, maybe this has to do with changing the shape of the thing or something. I don't know. Never mind. Rewind sound effect. True. Oh, true. Ugh. Wait, hold on. Or maybe this is considered. Maybe I was talking about is aerodynamic efficiency to some extent. Hold on. Well, now I'm bored. Now we're reading. The purpose of any engine bell is to direct the exhaust of a rocket engine in one direction, generating thrust in the opposite direction. The exhaust, a high-temperature mix of gases, has an effectively random momentum distribution, i.e. the exhaust pushes in any direction it can. If the exhaust is allowed to escape in this form, only a small part of the flow will be moving in the correct direction and thus contribute to forward thrust. Whenever I think for all forms of movement in space, you have to leave something behind. You have to blow something up and leave it behind. But remember for every action, there's an equal and opposite reaction. And I'm sure Einstein has a 50 billion times more complicated way of stating that. If you blow something up, if particles are going up and down and left and right and behind you, you might move forward. But if you could blow it up and have all the particles move in one direction, then you're going to move forward much more. This is true, actually, and this is even true of cars, that once you start combustion in your engine, that exhaust, you lose horsepower pushing the exhaust out of your car. Your engine actually has to do work to push exhaust gas out of your car. You're wasting energy doing it. That's why sometimes people will get like a high flow catalytic converter, or they'll get like a straight pipe. They'll get like different types of exhaust that are more efficient. They don't have as many bends or whatever. They're louder, but so exhaust is an issue that you have to expend energy on getting rid of, and you also want all the exhaust probably going in the same way, because if it's going in other ways, it's showing that you're pushing energy in a yeah. Fascinating. For something to move, it doesn't require any force. If by moving you mean velocity, your statement was wrong. By moving, I mean velocity. What is by moving? I think it's pretty obvious. I'm sorry, I will use a more technically correct word. I think I mean to say accelerating. Is that okay? Are you happy now? Accelerating. Okay. The bell redirects exhaust moving in the wrong direction so that it generates thrust in the correct direction. Ambient air pressure also imparts a small pressure against the exhaust, helping to keep it moving in the right direction as it exits the engine. As the vehicle travels upwards, the atmosphere ambient air pressure is reduced. This causes the thrust-generating exhaust to begin to expand outside the edge of the bell. Since this exhaust begins traveling in the wrong direction, the efficiency of the engine is reduced as the rocket travels because this escaping exhaust is no longer contributing to the thrust of the engine. An aerospike rocket seeks to eliminate this loss of efficiency. Oh, okay. Okay, so for people saying, some people in chat said that I was right for what I was initially saying, but that's not true. I'm not right. This has to do with exhaust. It doesn't have to do with, well, I mean, I guess it all kind of does. We get a 50% on it. The idea behind the aerospike design is that at low altitude, the ambient pressure compresses the exhaust against the spike. Exhaust recirculation at the base of the spike and raise pressure that is not nearly ambient. Since pressure on the ground. Okay, we don't care that much about this. Apparently, these engines suck anyway, according to Elon. You're right about the statements, but they weren't relevant to what you were talking about? Well, all my statements are correct. Duh. The engine bell directs the exhaust in the correct direction. The larger the bell, the more exhaust you can direct in the direction you want. But the engine bell adds weight to your ship, so there's a balance to the size of your engine bell. An aerospike effectively makes the bell close to the most efficient size at the time during sound. Okay, gotcha. All right. Okay. Next time we need to just ask Rock, and he can tell us.
Been a methane engine that's seen flight, certainly in a rocket scenario. I think there may have been some like little test things, but no actual rockets. But I'm like very confident that CH4 is the right fuel.
Okay, I don't care about the rest of this.